One.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the reality show brought to you by the Ayn Rand Center UK, where we bring the practical philosophy of objectivism and apply it to everything, especially current events. And I have a great panel with me today. My partner in crime for TV Talk, Jack Schumann, Mark Lewis, is here. Our Alejandro and Waz Art. Thanks, guys, for showing up for our three topics today. The first one deals with Tucker Carlson and his interview with a man who claimed to have oral sex with Barack Obama in 1999 and to have done cocaine with him, not just on one occasion, but on two. Obama apparently couldn't get enough of the guy. And when you see the guy interviewed on Tucker Carlson, you'll know why Obama could not get enough of the guy. Not a tooth in the man's head. There's also an article apparently about conspicuous wealth. I think it focused on John Travolta's garage. I know he has a few planes parked around his house somewhere. We're not talking about Cessnas. We're talking about like DC-10s. He is a pilot. People, I think, got a little bit miffed about this. And then we're going to talk about shows that have been canceled by the BBC. And is it bad? Is it good? Is the BBC itself something that should, see the end of its life? We'll talk about all that stuff. But first, let's talk about this man. This man who claims to have had a sexual relationship with Barack Obama, whom he didn't know in 1999, who I guess he was approached by a limo driver, $250, an exchange of cocaine and a blowjob later, and the two are linked for life. It's only at the very end of this interview, a very lengthy interview of about 30 minutes or 40 minutes, that Tucker Carlson sort of slips in the fact that this man has a extensive criminal history, which the guy tries to blow off by saying, yes, but I've always been open about my history. Everybody knows my history. And his history is quite extensive, and it's mostly about fraud, writing bad checks, some assaults. I mean, it's a long...
But he's always admitted it, right? Especially when he was caught.
That makes him a good man. That makes him an honest man. Now, apparently what brought him to the fore was he noticed that a lot of young folks were very enthusiastic about Barack Obama, not just because he was the first Black man elected president, but because in his own memoirs, he admitted that he had done cocaine and he'd done drugs in his college years. But according to this man, it was not true. It was long after that. He was still doing crack cocaine and engaging in sexual relationships. Jax, I'm going to start with you. Is this guy full of shit, or is he telling the truth? Is the machine after him? He did suggest that didn't he suggest at some point in the interview that somebody was killed?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I find him to be highly reputable, actually. This story rang so true for me. Tucker Carlson is becoming more and more a journalist of the highest integrity that I could possibly aspire to be. I mean, the look on Tucker's face too of deep interest and deep belief in this man.
Can I imitate Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, imitate Tucker's look.
Here's Tucker when he's very interested.
Yeah, it's very much like he just has this, like, it's like a deer in the headlights, like, don't let them know this guy's a fraud. Don't let them know. So this guy I wasn't going to listen to the interview because I was running low on time, but I found it to be hilarious. So first, there's so many wrong things about it. The guy did the whole interview with two arm casts, right? He had both of his arms recently broken, which you've got to wonder, how did that happen?
Clearly it was somebody from the Obama camp.
Right. They were trying to prevent him from actually showing up and talking. He did. I think I read in the article that accompanied this that he took a polygraph. He had taken a polygraph test, had claimed that he would submit to one, took it, failed it. So
Yes, this is important because they only mentioned that he took a polygraph test. They don't mention the result of the polygraph test. That is in the New York Post article about
Right.
the interview.
That he,
By the way, folks, for anybody out there who doesn't know, the New York Post is considered a conservative journal. So the fact that it's picking apart Tucker Carlson's journalistic integrity is, I think, pretty telling in itself. So go ahead, Jess. He failed a lie detector test.
yeah, he failed, and he did have, I think it was something like they went back and found that he had like 97 infractions against him. I mean, he's been in jail. So, and then the thing that I found most, he kept on talking about, well, then Barack Obama, he didn't call him Barry, he didn't just call him Barack. It was always Barack Obama. I think the thing that was most hilarious to me was that they were talking about how Barack got into the limo with them and he proceeded to take out his cocaine and do a line on a CD, right? So he took out his powder cocaine and did a line on CD. Well, Barack proceeded to take out a pipe and smoke the cocaine that he had brought, the powder cocaine that he had brought, which is not possible, actually. If anybody knows anything about drugs, not that I was ever a crack smoker, but you can't actually, the burn rate of cocaine powder is too high that you can't smoke it. In order to turn cocaine into crack cocaine, you need to cut it with something like baking powder and turn it into rock. So I find it funny that he didn't meant that they just kept talking about Barack smoking crack. He's not bringing his own crack to the party.
Jax, you know far too much about the manufacture of crack cocaine, and I have a feeling it doesn't have to do with watching Breaking Bad.
It was watching Breaking Bad, even though that was crystal meth. I did go, and because I was like, wait a minute, you cannot smoke cocaine in the same way that you can't chop up oxy and inject it or snort it, because there's like protective.
Yeah, but this may be too much information. But as a young man working at a gas station, as a potential rock and roller, I was the only guy who didn't do drugs in the gas station I worked at. But the guys who I worked with would smoke pot and sprinkle cocaine on top of the pot and smoke it that way. So I'm sure the guys leaving out that section, what they really did was they bong smoked it, they sprinkled it on top of a bong.
Okay, maybe he did that. Maybe he did that, but either way, I found the whole thing ridiculous. And at this point, it was like, to what end? Is it ratings for Tucker? I don't think that this does anything to discredit Barack Obama. I think his presidency was disaster enough without the stain of having a gay encounter with a man. I thought there was really, I don't know if Daniel had it. It's a minute long clip, but the probably the most hilarious part to me is when he was talking about how Obama came into the car with him and they were smoking crack or whatever the hell it was that they were smoking, and then this guy was like, well, I'll just say it, Daniel. I don't know that we need to play it. But then this guy was like, and you know what? I didn't, there was something like disingenuous about Barack. Like, I didn't trust him. Oh, Tucker is saying you didn't trust him to what? Like, I just didn't think that, I felt like he wanted something from me besides cocaine and a blowjob. And like, what could, and
looking at the guy, he's got a face like he's got a face fresh out of Appalachia. You could tell there's something that Barack would want from him. But wait,
what would he want from him possibly? And then Tucker was like, oh,
his authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tucker was like, oh, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was a terrible, no pun intended.
Blowjobs often do.
Mark, I want to get to your feelings about this, but there's also rumors circulating, if I'm not incorrect, in the quickly thickening conspiracy theorist crowd of the right, that Michelle Obama is herself a man. So we have these rumors now that Barack Obama is having gay sex, smoking crack cocaine, and Michelle Obama is a man. I actually had a discussion with a MAGA Republican who said this. I said, I don't think she's a man. And he said, yes, she is.
You don't think he's like, you mean you don't think he's a man?
That's what they said.
Yeah, no.
What say you to this whole Tucker Carlson fiasco?
It's so perfect. But by the way, I just want to say this has been an extraordinarily educational reality show so far. Thank you, Jax, for the information and the visuals.
Sure.
The Michelle Obama as a man. It would explain so much, wouldn't it? You know, her competence, her intelligence, her poise. No,
her excellent muscle tone.
Yeah, her excellent muscle tone.
I can feel the canceling happening as we speak. Go ahead.
This is my job. I come on here just for that. So Tucker, again, absolute stellar journalist. Tucker and Trump came up at the same time. I remember watching Tucker, back, 15, 20 years ago and thinking, that guy is dumb as a rock. Like, if he is forced off script, he's got nothing. I just saw him make a fool of himself so many times, and now he's like the biggest thing ever. And I'm like, this is the symptom of our political media culture when Tucker is the top guy. I mean, you go from Glenn Beck, who at least could draw on a chalkboard, to Tucker, and it's just, and of course, at least he's bringing up really current, important political events, like what happened to an ex-president from way back when, even farther back. Everything about this is exactly what makes me sick about our culture. It's incredibly entertaining how silly the whole thing is.
Now, Alejandro, unlike Mark, I actually thought Tucker had some substance early on in his career. Early on in his career, I thought he said some interesting things, and gradually there was a change, particularly in the Trump years, where he just gave himself over to a type of yellow journalism, exaggeration, outright lies, and total propaganda. Do you see that as well? And what do you think of this interview? And what was the purpose of an interview at this particular time? Is it just clickbait? Is he just trying to get more views? Is he trying to expand his conservative base? Is that what this is?
I agree that asking the purpose of this interview should be the first question that should come to your mind. And to be honest, I didn't watch it, and I didn't watch it on principle because I know that nothing would come out from it. It's as objective and as truth speaking as watching a Jerry Springer show. It can be either brutally arbitrary, or it can be a script.
But have you noticed that some of these pundits, they have objectivists on their show, like you're on, Amy Peikoff, on Tucker Carlson. Dave Rubin had me and a bunch of objectivists on his show, and then they do a right turn. They do a right turn into Jordan Peterson land, into the MAGA Republicans, the nationalists. And is it for popularity? Is it that they see the only way they're going to get more views is to just surrender to that? Or do you think they're making a serious intellectual and spiritual commitment to this crap?
Well, it will depend on the journalist. In the case of Carlson, I think he has a double motivation. One, he's not a great thinker, but on the other side, I think he is trying to pander to a very specific group, people who are angry, people who don't think very well, and people who have this kind of chip where you just tell them something really simple, tell them who they should hate, and tell them an excuse to hate someone, and it doesn't have to be super well argumented. It just have to be something so that they can stand peacefully in their mind and without any further challenges.
He just seems like a slightly more articulate version of Bill O'Reilly to me. Woz, what did you make of this interview and the Post article that sort of took down the interview?
Yeah, well, I didn't watch the interview either because, like Alejandro, I cannot stomach him whatsoever. I think he's Tucker Carlson is despicable. I don't know much about the other guy. Yeah, I thought it's just a distraction and a way to fuel his conspiracy theorists following him. He summed it up perfectly when he kind of leaves it as, assess for yourself. Assess what? He said, she said. Like, there's nothing. What level of certainty can you actually get to with any of this? And yet all these people are going to jump on it like it's for sure happened. And, Barack is a disgusting person, whatever. I wouldn't put it past him that he did it. I mean, he admitted to doing drugs and stuff. So I don't think in the end it matters if he did it or not, especially to his followers, who half of them probably did drugs in college too. So
George Bush, GW, drugs,
He was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic,
and cocaine.
It just either
I'm
way.
sure he had a few wild times.
Right. But it doesn't make a difference because they all have wild times, and so do the people that vote for them. So they're going to let it slide. So I don't know. I think it's despicable what Tucker is up to, and he is just fueling so much anger and vengeance. That's what the main goal, I think, is of either side. They don't care about anything but getting their person in to get vengeance on the other side.
So it's tabloid journalism. It's just trying to get attract the purient interests of the audience, get the dirtiest, most disgusting, most
there's plenty you can criticize Obama for, and they don't even mention anything real or ideological or intellectual to criticize them about. It's stupid stuff like this, the same stuff they have a fit over if anyone says anything about Trump's character.
Mark, you wanted to say something.
Well, so it's tabloid journalism plus partisanship, right? Because I seem to remember Tucker doing almost the same interview with the people who were accusing Kavanaugh. I think he took the same tack, hey, this is credible. This person says it happened. Therefore, we should, decide for yourself. It's not only tabloid, it's pure partisanship. It's amazing how transparent it can be, and yet people take it seriously.
At least with Kavanaugh, though, they put it in a forum that was more or less, at a congressional hearing, and I don't know if she.
Can you imagine this guy at a congressional
had to take
hearing?
an oath and to tell the truth? This guy just went on a talk show. I don't think that this guy would make it in a room where he would have to swear to tell the truth.
Exactly, and Tucker promotes his thing, but not other things. It's obviously not about truth. It's not even just about views. It's about views from your particular audience, where you're hyping up a particular. I personally think this is on brand for Obama. I mean, like for Democrats, he's bi. We like that. That's a good thing. He was partying. He was like, it was interracial. This is great for Obama. I don't see the problem.
Yes, it might make
Obama. If I was Obama, I'd be like, if I did do that, you'd think I could probably get somebody who had teeth, and who might be a little bit better looking than that. Because he was a looker, not the toothless guy. I also don't like that the entire time that Tucker's interviewing, he doesn't one time use the word alleged. It's as if the whole thing is a foregone conclusion. Everything is completely true that this man is saying. Doesn't he slip in there too that Michelle is a man, and it just, he loses all credibility to me. He is as dumb as a box of rocks, but he's also sneaky. It's like one grifter to another. You could just and then I thought that this guy was hilarious when he's like, I'm a good judge of character. I'm like, what you mean is you're a good judge of when you can find a mark. That's different.
Yes, indeed. I think we've exhausted this little story, folks. It's pretty sordid, and at least we still know Elon Musk has not given himself completely over to the devil, because I think he criticized Tucker Carlson for the bad journalism and using X to promote bad journalism. If I'm not mistaken, he did say this is all hearsay. There's no evidence to corroborate this. This is actually just bad.
Right.
Well, maybe this bold attempt by Tucker Carlson to gain more clicks will actually lose him a little popularity with the smarter folks out there. Hopefully it does. But on an almost equally controversial note, an aerial photograph of John Travolta's home revealed that he has parking spaces for vintage aircraft, large vintage aircraft. And I guess it set off a spaz attack on the part of our current culture who hates wealth. And they particularly hate conspicuous wealth. If you're rich, don't show it. For Christ's sakes, you should be ashamed of it. You should never actually enjoy what you have. Joy is a bad thing, for crying out loud, if you're rich. Alejandro, what say you to that?
Well, I think it's great that he has the money and the capability of enjoying his life with these planes. But at the same time, I think something is happening. Because he was not the only one being attacked, because he has something related to planes. Yesterday, the president of Ryanair was going to Belgium, and when he arrived to the EU Parliament, he was received with a very Belgian welcome, which basically a couple of protesters threw him a cake in his face, in protest of Ryanair being, having planes. So basically, I think something's going on that it can be either maybe a day, an anti-plane day, or it may be the fact that there is a general push towards against the idea that planes are good. But again, we should always think for ourselves in the sense of what is the standard behind that? Is polluting good? Is polluting bad? And yeah, there are negative things about pollution, and planes can have those negatives. But how do you solve that? And is it constraining yourself from doing activities, or is it solving or sorting out those activities? And what these kind of movements tell you is, no, you should restrain yourself from having a plane. It's restraining yourself from doing the things that you like, because you're a sinner. You are hurting Gaia.
Now, were you offended by the fact that John Travolta could park a couple of planes in front of his mansion and can fly them around the world with only himself and his family on board?
Not at all. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
But his carbon footprint is so big.
I'm sure it's nothing compared to some other countries' carbon footprint that have no airplanes. But I think that environmentalism has become a perfect cover for their envy, because they can actually use it to create some guilt, some fear. And now I think it's turning to anger. As there was a discussion recently, I think on one of the reality shows about environmentalists need to become more angry. They need to be less relying on people's benevolence, because it's time to just stop this stuff. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from, because the picking on big mansions and stuff of certain people isn't new. I've seen it many times online. But I think now with the cover of environmentalism, they think they have this objective measure to make people feel guilty, when it's really just hatred of the good, as Ayn Rand would put it. Because they don't want to have that airplane or those airplanes, at least that's what they claim, but they also don't want anyone else to have an airplane, or, that's just pure hatred of, pure envy. So I think environmentalism is a perfect marriage for that envy.
But Jax, aren't these people expressing their love for humanity? Because one guy has too much, that means another guy has less. And if some guy is out there, spreading his carbon footprint all over the face of the earth, he's jeopardizing our lives. So isn't it good that these people are getting mad at people like John Travolta?
Yeah, the problem is that the footprint can't actually be larger than somebody else's footprint. So I feel like in order to make it equal, other people would have to have a larger carbon footprint. That way we could all be on a level playing field. So we should all get planes. I think that would satisfy people, especially the environmentalists. They should all get a plane as well, so that they can have just as big a footprint as John Travolta. Then maybe they wouldn't complain about it. I don't know.
I get the sense that they want us to have a footprint that is measured by the smallest footprint possible. So we're talking a bushman somewhere in the middle of the Amazon. You know, their footprint is just some burning banana leaves.
Perhaps I've fundamentally misunderstood this movement then, because I just always thought it was, but let's just have everybody have a huge footprint. But no, I do jest. This is what's interesting to me. Well, it's not interesting. It's sad, actually, is I'm starting to see just more and more ill will and downright vitriol from those who don't have against those who do have. And I remember, I think we talked about this on one of the reality shows back when it was the Collective with the submarine accident. People were dancing on the graves of these rich people who died tragically, a father and son as well, who died tragically because they had quote unquote extravagant wealth. I saw it in the Maui fires, where people were angry that mansions didn't burn down, but that the rest of the town had burned down.
And it has started a conspiracy theory, by the way. I'm hearing conspiracy theories in the Maui fire that, you know, those big real estate interests were actually trying to move people out. They wouldn't move. And so this fire mysteriously happened. Nobody's insurance is going to pay for those properties. So they're essentially having to migrate off the island so that those properties can be developed the way the evil corporation, whatever evil corporation is behind this, can achieve what it wants. Mark, what do you say to all this wealth hatred? I mean, you know, objectivists get a lot of flack for not hating rich people and for not thinking rich people all deserve to burn in hell. It's such a common feeling for people to think that if you got rich, you got there by stepping on the neck of somebody else. How do you explain this?
Yeah, well, so of course, Francisco d'Anconia says, did you get your wealth by fraud and by false values? If so, then your wealth will not serve you. I don't like or dislike rich people because I'm not always sure how they got their wealth. But Travolta, I love it. He earned it. How did he earn it? By entertaining us, by bringing us joy, by creating characters that made money. It's so obvious that he earned it. There's no doubt whatsoever. It's like, John Travolta, yes, he did backhanded deals, but no, the man earned it. And to love excellence, except when it comes to money, is just so philosophically, intellectually dishonest and sad, and so indicative of people's characters. We call it virtue signaling, right?
And speaking of the way people earn money, I would have to say, if you go from a community organizer in Chicago to owning a $27 million mansion in Martha's Vineyard, you've done it exclusively through the political system, you are a bad person, and that is ill-gotten gains right there. So that is perhaps we should see an aerial picture of every politician's home, and make that something to bitch and complain about, not somebody who earns their money in the private sector.
That would be actually an amazing project, to take the houses of people who earned their wealthy lifestyle versus those who grifted their way to a healthy, wealthy lifestyle. And again, this is exactly the point. The fact that Barack Obama is rich is disgusting. The fact that John Travolta is rich is inspiring. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And he's got planes. Fantastic. The man knows how to fly. Another thing to like about him. He
flies his own planes too.
Yeah. I mean, another thing to respect about him. Right?
Yeah,
He's a Scientologist. Another thing to respect about. Oh, no, sorry. So
there's a lot to like about the guy for sure. His career in the 70s, he was one of the biggest matinee idols of all time, and then experienced a resurgence in the 90s thanks to Quentin Tarantino, and it hasn't stopped. In a way, he deserves all the good money that's coming his way. But look, in that same entertainment vein, I want to switch topics over to this BBC canceling shows. And Jax, I'm going to let you lead this conversation because I didn't have a chance to look at this article. But talk about the BBC. What are they doing? What are they canceling, and why? Is it good? Should there be a BBC? I wonder.
Sure. I do want to say something real quick. We have one super chat, but folks, are we sleeping on the super chats today? Normally we get a few more super chats than this. So I don't think that our producer Daniel is going to be able to eat dinner tonight. But let's get some super chats for Daniel's dinner. But we do have.
What's the super chat?
Well, it's just a contribution. So thank you from Nick Artiga for $2. Awesome. I don't see any others, but I will start on this topic and hope that we get some super chats in the meantime, because we had some really, really interesting topics to discuss. So this next topic is kind of a fun vanity one, I guess. It is about TV shows that have been canceled. I think so. The article that we received had kind of made it sound like it was the BBC that canceled it, but these are shows that ran on all different networks. There were some BBC shows, some Netflix, some that ran on regular network TV. These are the shows that got canceled that we miss and are tragically distraught over. Mark Pellegrino, I'm going to ask you, which one is I know you haven't read this list, but just in knowing me, which one do you think I'm most upset about that's been canceled?
Well, read the list. I don't know it.
No, so I want you to guess without. It's from it. You should know. Oh,
Firefly.
Yes. Yes.
How stupid. Don't they realize how great Firefly is?
And they canceled it it would never be canceled today based on the viewership that it received when it got canceled, because it was getting something like 11 million views, or it had like 11 million audience, I think, or maybe it was 5 or 6 million, but it was still one of the and in the Friday night time slot as well, which during network TV in the United States is not the most popular time slot. They call it.
By the way, Rozzy says we can expand this to your favorite show that got canceled. Yours is Firefly. I have to say, Arrested Development killed me when it got canceled.
Arrested Development was definitely a great one. Well, I'll go through the list here, and then you guys can kind of chime in on what's on the list, or maybe chime in on what wasn't on the list and should have been on the list in terms of it was canceled and it was brilliant. So the first one was The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. I never saw that. I never even heard of it. Now I'm going to go look at it. Glow, I remember Glow. I loved Glow. That was about the female wrestling. Vengeance Unlimited was that must have been canceled off of network TV, or maybe it was, I don't know if it was a British show, but it starred Michael Madsen. Perry Mason, the HBO's Perry Mason, got canceled. I could go kind of either way. I'm a little like lukewarm about Perry Mason. Becoming Elizabeth, that was one on Channel 4 in the UK. I guess that got canceled after just one season, it looks like. Of course, My Heart, Firefly. The OA, that was another one. That one doesn't bother me too much that it got canceled.
It's sort of a super weird show. It's almost good.
It's almost good, and I could understand why it did get canceled,
Sure.
because of the almost status. What about Freaks and Geeks? You guys remember that show?
Well, it made the careers of Judd Apatow and every other person on that show. Every person on that show became a
Jason
major
Segel,
star.
James Franco, a lot of people in that. The Hour, I guess that was a BBC. It was apparently kind of a Mad Men style drama. Have you guys heard of that one?
No.
The Hour, never heard of it. And then Sense8 got canceled after 2 seasons. Although huh?
It's a little sketchy, right? That's where they could all sort of read each other's minds or something like that.
They were kind of they were sort of, it was like a hive mind, and they could all. I loved the first season. I thought it was great. And then the second season of Sense8 did what the Wachowskis do when they get full of themselves, is they made it all about them. They just made it all about what they cared about and stopped caring about what the audience cared about. Which is what they did with Matrix over and over, and they did it with Sense8. So I can kind of agree to that one.
Well, then we're going to have a little disagreement there, because I think as an artist, you should do what you care about. And, it's a coincidence, a happy coincidence that the audience goes along with it, right? I don't think Rand wrote for an audience. I think she wrote for herself and the audience followed. But that's me.
I think that's a good point, to a point. We might have a little disagreement about it. I remember when I was writing my big grand novel that was my very first try at writing a big sweeping novel, and I had written this. In my view, I had written this amazing scene about it was a motorcycle chase scene, and very detailed on all the nuances of writing, and it went on for maybe like 5 pages. It was kind of one of those scenes in Game of Thrones where it takes 10 pages to describe how bloody cold it is, and so I remember sending it out to my readers group, and they were like, "Wow, yeah, you really like motorcycle writing." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Wow, we could really tell you really like motorcycle writing." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We don't give a shit. Like, let's get to the rest of the story. We care about this stuff." So I think it's important to sort of have audience feedback. And that's why we have other people read our scripts and give us their opinions on things, because sometimes we can get a little too deep in the weeds.
Oh, that's definitely.
I was Ayn Rand's editor. I would have edited down that John Galt speech a bit.
Well, she did edit down for every 5 pages. 1 page got written for every 5 pages she wrote. So there was an extensive amount of editing, believe it or not. Anyway, but I want to extend this conversation out to everybody here a little bit. Alejandro, do you have any television shows that were canceled that you thought should never have been canceled, should still be on today?
Oh yeah, there was one called Pan Am. It was the debut of Margot Robbie in the American television. It was really good.
I remember that. Yeah, it was the classic Pan Am when they were called stewardesses, not flight attendants.
Yeah,
I heard that was pretty interesting. I'm surprised that got canceled. What did you like about it? Just beautiful women jet setting around the world.
I think that was best, but certainly the whole idea, it was very smooth. Not a lot of high-end problems, just small conflicts, and then they would get resolved at the end of the chapter. It was really benevolent, really nice.
Was any TV shows that you love that got canceled and blew your mind that they got canceled?
Well, I was definitely a fan of Firefly, so I definitely am sad that got canceled, although I think they did a good job with everything afterwards, the movie and things like that. But now they basically
and Nathan Fillion's done well for himself after that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's great. But I mean, they can't really go back now because of things that happened in the movie, so they'd have to do a completely different type of series now. So it would be hard to bring back. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about their shows and stuff is it's not just big mean Netflix that's canceling their shows. There's a lot of intricacies that go into any one show. I'm sure you're well aware, Mark. But
Yes,
So
I've been in the world where every day you're checking the internet for Cancellation Bear. There's a site called Cancellation Bear which predicts which shows are going to go and which shows aren't. And when your show's on the chopping block, it's a very it's a very disturbing phenomenon because it's stressful enough just to get a show and then to maintain it every year. That's a whole other ball of wax.
I can totally imagine. I just wanted to say, like, there was one person on there that made a comment about her favorite show and said that COVID hit and Netflix, for reasons still unknown, decided to cancel the entire series rather than wait for distancing regulations to relax. Gutted doesn't even begin to cover it. I'm still bitter. So what were all these people, these investors, these actors supposed to do while they were waiting for the government to relax their regulations on social distancing? Were they just supposed to sit there and wait for the show to pick back up or just live off the handout from the government? No, they were out looking for other opportunities and different ways to make money, which probably took precedence over those old shows. I know for one, like I used to do a lot of tables, like I'd sell my glasswork at a table at art fairs and things like that. Well, 2021 came along and all those things were closed for both of those years. And so I gave all my merchandise to galleries and started selling it online and changed my mode of making money. And now 2021 are gone and all these places are asking me to put my stuff out on their tables, but I sold it all. I did different things. And now I have a different way to make money. So I'm not going to go back to that old way necessarily just because, you know, I didn't finish it or something. So I'm just saying the dislocation, the market caused by the government has so many tiny little unseen effects that this would be one of them. And I bet.
And I'll give you a personal unseen effect. We should be season 4 of American Rust. We're in season 2, which is now stalled in post-production because of the strike. Thank you, COVID.
Right. It just started that whole ball of wax that you don't even see the little things that have raised the cost of things. So I just get annoyed when people kind of have this attitude that they think shows just come out of, or art or entertainment come out of thin air or whatever, when it's a lot of intricacies that go into it. And I bet you this woman complaining that her shows aren't continuing also is complaining about John Travolta having too big of a house. So the same type of people, just they want their entertainment, but they don't want the people to make too much money. You know, it's just, I'm fed up with them.
Oh, if we could only leave people alone. Mark Lewis, what do you say? Is there a show that you loved beyond belief that filled you with fuel every time you watched it, and now it is gone and there's an empty space in your life, a giant sucking sound where that show once was?
So I kind of liked V. I thought it was V, the alien.
I never watched V. Yeah, I know V.
Oh.
I never watched it.
Well,
was that the one with James Caan? Was James Caan in V?
Oh gosh, I don't.
Because we're talking about the show from ages ago, right? Or
a decade ago.
Yeah.
Would paint the V on the door. Did they do
Yeah, well, so it was the psychologist from Firefly was the main alien character, and because of Firefly, I'm watching that show.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I really like that one. There was a series called Rome that was set in Rome. I love the history and the pageantry of that, and I found that fascinating. And I'd say the latest
and there was a great deal of frontal nudity in Rome, I have to say.
Hey, I'm not going to complain. I happen to like that, you know.
Okay.
And then I like Altered Carbon. I'd really like to see that they actually like take that show where it could go with being able to change out personalities and bodies and swap. I don't know if you saw Altered Carbon.
I saw the first.
I did. It was pretty good.
I loved it. I only loved it when Joel Kinnaman was in it.
Good point. Great first season.
Well, guys, the good news is there's still content out there, and if the strike should end sometime soon, which I hope it will, there's the projections are 2024, then there'll be more content out there to fill up the empty spaces that these cancellations have left in our souls. Any final comments before we bid adieu to these lovely topics today?
I just want to read out Daniel's show that he missed, which was that got canceled, which was My Name is Earl. I loved that show too. I thought that was a great show. So just shout out to that. And I didn't have anything else.
I'm really looking forward to you could say, the increased democratization of being able to produce high quality content by leveraging technology and digital mediums. I'm really looking forward to the next decade in terms of how many people get to come up with creative ideas, bring them to the market with low budgets so that they can be paid for, so that the people can, as an artistic process, do a lot of long tail. I really like this, like the Wachowskis. If they could make enough money, given how much they're spending, I'd like to see more of their stuff just to see where they go, even though I'll often abandon their stuff. I think we're looking forward to a creative explosion, and I'm excited for the next 10 years in terms of entertainment.
I think you're right. I think we're in a golden age of it, and if we can get the strike resolved, AI will help us. So tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time, the ARC UK Philosophy Forum for ARC UK Platinum level and above members, they will be discussing one. Does a free nation have a right to invade a dictatorship? I'm going to say yes. 2, should the climate agenda be defined as a hoax? I heard Nico say no. I say the agenda is a hoax. 3, when is it proper to boycott? Now, that's an interesting question. That would be doesn't have a simple answer for me, but those seem like very interesting topics, guys. Tune in, like, and subscribe to this channel so that you can get all of this cool content. We're bringing objectivism to the real world every single day. Be a part of it. Be a part of the change. Be a part of the wave. And until we see you, I guess, next week, right? Is today Friday? Yes, I have jiu-jitsu class today. So today's
one more quick super chat that I just want to get
Quickly.
in from Robert Nicer. Thank you. It looks like his shows were Lie to Me and Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. Interesting.
Copy that.
Lie to me.
Great.
Lie to me.
Copy that. I have to tell you, if After Party goes away, that's going to bother me, because that is a great show. Anybody who hasn't seen it, it's on Apple TV. Check it out. It is super, super funny. For season 1 and season 2 are both very, very funny. Anyway, on that note, folks, we'll see you next week. Until that time, always remember to check your premises.